Hey, this is Bobby at Copel TV Repair, and it seems like today or this week is the day or the week for me for busting others, because I seem to be only doing videos that show someone else's mistakes. Well, no, in the previous one I admitted to making a mistake myself, and let's see if we will make one today. That board is from a 10-year-old Vizio. I've done many videos for those boards. And the reason I'm making this one is to show the customer and the vendor about the reason why it was working, and tell the vendor and the customer that the previous repair shop made a bad job. I'm sorry, I really don't want to get into wars and all the going back and forth of who has a bigger penis and so on and so forth, who's been longer in business. That's really not what it's all about. Down to the business. I honestly don't remember what the customer said about what the issue is. I just looked at the paper, but the communication history about that was too long. I can pull it out. Anyhow, we did reflow the board. Just this. We saw that it was worked on. It had a stamp on the back showing that it was previously worked on. We got it back in touch with the customer. The customer got back in touch with us today. This was cleaner stem before we had to remove the heatsink in the front. So this board was at some point serviced by Start Boy 1010, who's one of our competitors on eBay. I don't know anything about the guy. Every now and then we receive boards that have been serviced by him or them, and you can see that the 3.3 volt transistor here was replaced, and it wasn't a particularly clean job, but it may have been working around. That transistor is usually replaced when the HDMI is also going bad. Power surge, the HDMI chip was replaced. I don't know if I can very clearly show the signs. It's very apparent. One of the most apparent things is you can see how this inductor is twisted sideways, but it is making contact. That's not the problem. So the ports on the HDMI ports on the board do not work, and the reason they do not work, and there's a number of things that can be tested. The very first one is you want to go and test whether there is an issue with the solder joints. Some of those ones that are at the very corner of the IC detached, not making good contacts, or some of them shorted after reflow with excessive flux, and the balls had already been disconnected. They can jump short, they can jump and disconnect. So one thing you do is you get all the differential signals points. That's why they are here on the board, those 8. We just test the resistance to ground for all of them. And if they're all the same, probably the problem is elsewhere. This is the case here. They're all the same. I am still not in the 21st century and still do not have a decent setup to show video with both my hands and things that make sense. So this is what really quickly will be happening. You measure, you don't measure. No, I gotta be able to do it somewhere more. Or just get a crocodile for Pete's sake. Okay, I will get a crocodile. Give me a second here. Alright. It should be easier. If that works. Yeah, it does. Okay, so the very first thing, you get one of those points, sorry. And if you press hard, they all measure 0.4, it can be 0.5, it can be, as long as all of them are the same. You're looking for a difference between them, and sometimes they don't make a good contact, so you press hard to make sure that your point is stable, and all of those are the same. I don't have to show you all of them to show you that they are to tell you that they are the same. This is not the point. The second thing that you want to test in such cases is this very last leg of the HDMI selector, and it should give you something like 300 ohms in diode mode resistor testing. This one gives me 1.5, and that is bad. And the reason it is giving me that I'm guessing and I'm betting, but based on, I would say, solid past experience. I'm even sure that I made maybe years ago a video about the same thing. Is this chip was not replaced properly. Somebody replaced it, but they did not put solder joint, and the way you do put, not solder joint, the solder, they did not put solder on the back, and this one does have a metal bottom that is used for heat dissipation, but it's also used for grounding. So there is a little square on the back of that chip. Let me get one actual chip. This is how they look. This is the same chip as here, and they have this pad that has to solder to the board. And the way you do that, the best way to do that, there are many different ways. You just use liquid solder paste. If you put too much of it, it may short. If you put too little of it, this will happen. This chip is simply not grounded. The HDMIs do not work because this is how the freaking chip gets the grounding. So what I need to do is I need to desolder it. While I'm at it, I will be replacing it too. It may have worked at some point, but because it wasn't soldered properly, maybe later on when maybe solder paste was put, but it wasn't melted properly, the whole thing wasn't detached. It never really soldered, so it may have worked for a short while, and then when the solder paste got older and maybe shrunk a little bit, it just stopped working. So that is the reason why this board is not working, I'm pretty sure. I will stop the video now because I will need both my hands, and again, I'm still in the 20th century and don't have a good stand for videos. But that's it. And that's what you pay for. Oh, look how the paste starts coming out of here. That's bad. And again, I don't want to go and say this is good, this I'm better, and so on and so forth. This is not what this is about. When I see a bad job, I call it a bad job regardless where it comes from. Sometimes it would be me. I'm not always at my best, and I definitely don't know everything. This was a poor job. I don't know when it was done, I don't know why, but I bet when this is repaired, it's going to work. Let's see later on. I did not, oh yeah, I did show you the resistance. Let's see how it will be after I replace it. I paused and just lifted the chip, and this is the chip still smoking. It's too hot for me to touch. I literally stopped the video for maybe 10 seconds. There is no solder at the bottom whatsoever. Most likely the chip is good and working. It's kind of all messed up, but I'm gonna clean all that up, and I will decide if I will put a new chip or try to put that one back in, because, well, we're about reusability. I believe the chip will be good. Again, just based on experience and seeing that problem before, there was just not enough solder to join those two. But again, if there's too much, that's also bad. So that's a difficult trick. If it's too bad, if it's too much, it can spill and short those, because they're copper and they're just begging for some solder paste to go here. And sure enough, I know that because I've done it. So that's it. Putting on pause again. So here I am back again after some cleaning that took a few minutes. This is how a clean pad looks like. And I cleaned just a little bit the chip itself, only with alcohol. I did not use any soldering. The proper cleaning of the chip will require that I clean all the legs as well. And you can see they're pretty messed up, even at the messy background of my heavily scratched desk. But I did not use any soldering iron. I did not apply any heat to that after I desoldered it with the heat gun. And in my opinion, this thing never had solder on the back. Whoever put that just did not do it right. And here's what I'm going to do now. There are many different types of solder paste. The reason this is good to do with solder paste as opposed to hard solder is it allows flexibility in putting the stuff here. Normally what I would do is I would not just put that in here. Normally what I would do is I would mix it outside, and that depends on the paste. Mine is relatively old, and that's why I'm mixing it with some flux as well. But the presence of the paste allows for the chip to be put on top, moved around, and positioned optimally while still providing good conditions for the soldering at the end. I'm gonna take some of it because, as I said, too much of it is just as bad as too little. And it does take some time and practice to figure out how much is too much and how little is too little. Just imagine there was a filtering pad template that you put on top of the chip, because that's how they're manufactured, and there is something that goes on top of it and places on top of the template some solder. This is basically, you see how it goes towards those points? That is what we really don't want to have. So I probably will try and get just a little bit of paper again. It's just because I'm in the